Hello, everyone, and welcome back to DBR on CBR. That is right. It is time once again for your favorite time of the week. It is Dragon Ball Rewatch, and we are your hosts. I'm Alex.
I'm Sam.
And I'm John, and we are in episode 13, The Legend of Goku. Japanese air date, May 21st, 1986. USA, December 2nd, 1995. We're adapting two chapters again, The End of the Tale and Separate Ways. Alas, the end of the tale isn't written as tale, as in the pun on tale, just as in story.
To be fair, it's not actually the end of Goku's tale. Spoiler alert.
I haven't watched that far yet. But the plot is basically Goku has become monkey and has decided that's everybody else's problem.
And it's a big problem.
It's a big problem.
Yeah.
It is quite a large problem. I will say there is one thing about the translation that has always bothered me ever since I was a nerdy kid, because in English we call it the great ape, but apes do not have tails. That is a distinct difference between monkeys and apes, and that has always bothered me.
Maybe that's why it's a great ape, though. It's like Great Britain. It's bigger because it has a tail, so that's the great.
Yeah. And, in talking about the end of the Pilaf saga, just as a reminder, if you want to follow along, be sure to watch, Dragon Ball on Crunchyroll or Hulu. And of course, if you're reading along, check out Viz Media, which has the official English language translation. This episode, can you imagine if like a Vegeta level great ape awakened and they tried to use poire scissors to cut off his tail?
I don't know. That was very, very effective. The Pois's animation, I will admit, made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was way too
the fact it had like resistance, it took two cuts, and like the weird texture on the inside. It was
yeah, it's so the texture on the inside actually threw me off because I like my more vivid memories of the tail cut off are Gohan's tail. And Gohan's tail, when it's cut off, doesn't have that same texture. They kind of flatten it out and make it less wet looking, I think is the best way to describe it.
What's the thing for the fear of holes? Thalassophobia? It has a bit of that to it in the texture.
It's so uncomfortable of a texture.
Yeah, it's so weird because you'd think it would just be, poisons would just so flying across and the tail would fall off. But no, it actually has to like fight the tail.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, it's an oddly gory moment for early Dragon Ball.
It really is.
Yeah, it's upsetting. But before we really get into the Goku monkey stuff, I do want to talk about Pilaf Crew and their actual horror movie moment of not being able to get the helicopter to start.
That's why you shouldn't use a plane that still requires contacts.
The whole setup is just so good, and then they have a lot of really good jokes. Like, why isn't it starting? Because you're not yelling loud enough, and then immediately he just starts screaming for no reason. It's every beat in this episode is very good.
It's like this episode feels like there's two episodes going on, in that you have sort of Yamcha, Bulma, and that doing horror stuff, and then Pilaf and the gang are doing slapstick. It's kind of Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein kind of deal going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and there's some of that in the manga too, but they really, as you can imagine, to fill the runtime, they really expand the, King Kong biplane attacking giant ape in a building scenario.
Oh yeah, this episode should also be subtitled "Thank Heavens King Kong doesn't have the rights anymore," because they beat for beat this. Bulma does a Fei Ray impression. We've got the whole plane flying around shooting it. But I guess, like King Kong, we can say beauty killed the beast, and the beauty was Yamcha.
Like, okay, can we talk about Yamcha just making himself a sword with the wolf fang fist?
I love that, and I realized I went back, and if you look at when you see their little house where he and Poir are living, there's a load of stone decorations in there. So my new headcanon is that's what Yamcha does in his spare time. He just wolf fang fists carves himself. He runs the best Etsy store in Dragon World.
That's what he was doing before baseball.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't work though, right? Like, what's the consistency on how strong Goku's tail is?
Yeah, I guess the argument is the stone's already mostly is broken up, so he's not using enough rock.
I would imagine that rock wouldn't get as sharp as metal. Like, because Poir is very clearly like stainless steel teacher scissors, those very specific scissors that every teacher has on their desk that no kid is allowed to touch. Those are the scissors. And Yamcha just made like a stone sword, which is cool, and I think would work on like a human, but on an alien.
But Oolong has already said you don't get stronger when you transform.
It's only Oolong who doesn't. Oh, well,
Ah.
Oolong. Maybe, well, he didn't finish transformation school.
Oh, true. I just wonder if maybe Poir is like Yamcha has his confidence with girls. Poir is actually terrifyingly strong, but only believes he can do it if transformed.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever scanned Poir with the scouter? I'll look that up at some point. Now I'm curious.
I don't
Poir
think so.
versus Beerus.
Yeah, because I mean, they weren't around when Raditz landed at the beginning of Z, and Poir definitely wasn't around to see Yamcha get killed in person a year later. So
I'm sure one of the guidebooks has it.
yeah, maybe with some Daisenshu entry. It is very much like it's an odd episode, but it's kind of a fun capper to this Pilaf saga. And it's interesting to think that if Dragon Ball hadn't taken off, this is where the story ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, which they kind of mock. Unfortunately, the English dub loses one of my favorite gags because the ending of this episode feels like an ending.
Yeah.
Like it all
really
caps
does.
off. You have a bit of the adventure continues, but the narrator in the Japanese version says, "Thank you for watching the story till the end." Just kidding. There's more to come next week, which is such a good joke, and it plays into the narrator being like just a bit snarky for some reason.
I do want to point out, I truly believe that this is the worst thing that his friends ever did to him. Like, this is the worst thing that they ever did to Goku, was that they all came to this. Like, I mentioned it a couple times before, but this is where it's like explicit. They never tell Goku that that's what happened to Grandpa Gohan. They make a decision to never tell him, and he has to find out from Vegeta. I think that that is psychotic. I think that that is horrible. Like,
I think it's better that it comes from Bulma, and the Bulma performance here is really good for sort of conveying the big sister thing again, in that she clearly thinks it's for his own good. I think if it had been like Yamcha who suggested it or Oolong, it would have felt even worse. I think they do a good job of sort of capturing that Bulma kind of wants to, but also understands that that would just destroy him.
like I don't think they need to tell him like right now, but like because he Goku finds out when he's, I believe, around 23, 24. They don't tell him for over a decade. Like at no point do they tell him like, hey, like they were taking a gamble with him getting married and having Gohan. Like there was a gamble happening here. Like I just think that it's kind of psychotic that like nobody ever thought later on to be like, hey, Goku, we gotta tell you something. Like,
But it's weird because in Japan, in the Japanese version of Z, he takes it quite well when he has the revelation when he sees Vegeta. He's pretty okay with it pretty quickly.
Shamel plays it a little differently, I think, and maybe that's coloring my view of it.
I said obviously in the original dub of the US, they have him see Vegeta as an ape and presume Vegeta did it, which is a very odd dubbing error.
It is the weirdest. It is the weirdest version to take that
And
story.
Vegeta's like, I've never been here.
I mean, this is the same dub where Vegeta arrives on Earth and declares that he's sad it's not Monday because he would have killed more office workers.
Yeah. He's like, too bad it's Sunday, otherwise.
Too bad it's Sunday.
Cool. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's all years.
That's in the future.
But
Yeah.
it's there's no energy attacks from the Uzaro. It really is a weak ape compared to the apes we see.
Yeah.
Very, even Gohan as an ape in the beginning of DBZ does cooler stuff.
A mouth laser would have just annihilated everyone.
We would have never seen Pilaf again. If he could do mouth lasers, we would have never seen Pilaf again.
I'm convinced the dragon made Pilaf immortal, by the way. Like, Pilaf should have died, even at this point, Pilaf should have died multiple times.
He gets his hands on the balls between, like, thanks to Super, we know that happens. And then
Yeah.
I just like the fact that Pilaf is the most we said this about Monster Carrot, but Pilaf has it worse. He's the most unlucky man in the world because he decided of all the people he could randomly decide to start messing with, he messed with the kid who knows all this supernatural powers and the only one who can turn into a giant monkey. And he happened to imprison him on the one night of a full moon in the one room in his house that has a glass ceiling. That is, when that happens, you look and you go, I have annoyed Buddha. In my last life, I was scum and now I am being taunted. This is hell and I am living in it.
I mean, yeah, especially this point of the series on, whenever Pilaf does show up, it's like, how are we going to screw over Pilaf this time? This is the end of semi-competent Pilaf, really.
Team Rocket
And
blasting off again.
They kind of actually signpost that really well with, it's a filler moment for the anime, but when he gives the guns to Mai and Shu and they immediately run away, I think that actually signposts that really well as like, this character is now a comedy character because he's lost his authority. It very much is like signaling to the audience, this is his new status now. He's done.
Speaking of running away, was anybody kind of surprised that when Bulma's trapped under the rubble, that Oolong didn't run away? Like, I think that's interesting.
Bit, but I like it's kind of building on him going from being the sort of accidental hero, like 2 episodes ago, to being more of a willing hero now.
But like, that's what I mean. It's a good moment because I was surprised by that, but then it's like, yeah.
I mean, everybody grows. Yamcha realizes he can touch girls without getting like, losing his mind.
Without dying, apparently.
I love the Yamcha Bulma dance they do when they're flirting. They're like Irish jigging. It's great.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder, like, obviously Oolong has had an unhealthy obsession with Bulma since his introduction. And he's just like so pissed.
So mad.
He's so pissed that she has found what will be her love interest for the next like 15 years of her life.
Oh, Yamcha. I do love that whole like Yamcha's like, I touched a girl and nothing bad happened to me. Like, I really want to know what he was expecting to happen.
Just burns up.
Yeah,
it's like Dracula when presented with a crucifix.
Like he just
so funny.
I always forget how like on the nose Yamcha's lines about his fear of girls are in this dub. So they always throw me when he says them because I always feel like he just literally says, "I'm scared of women."
Yeah. I mean, the man is very self-actualized. He's just, he knows exactly what his kryptonite is.
He really, really does.
Good for him.
It's nice. I like how they end with Yamcha and Bulma going off. I think it's a nice way of resolving their characters in a way that makes sense for now.
In the manga, you don't see them for quite some time. For chapters and chapters of manga. In the anime, as we're gonna see, we check in on them pretty quickly.
Yeah, it introduces a weird plot hole next episode because of how they do it, but it's certainly interesting. Also, one thing I really like about this is Goku, when he's on the ground, he becomes naked again, as is tradition. It leads to one of my favorite edits Ocean ever did, which is when Goku's on the floor naked, to avoid showing his genitals, they draw a flower over them, and it's the worst drawn flower. It's like MS Paint, like last minute, like Dave, you can draw, right? Yeah, draw something over this naked kid, would you? I can only do lilies, mate. But it's fine. Just draw a lily. Draw a lily.
It's very Vatican of them, like.
I had the idea that Goku landed next to the one plant in this desert.
But not even a mushroom? Like, come on, they're all over the place, guys.
That would be innuendo, though.
That's fair.
Oh, yeah, it looks lily-like, which also has fun when you consider it's a funeral flower and Goku's there kind of dead.
Yeah. Having just completely, utterly spent himself wrecking a palace and nearly murdering anyone he's befriended or met within the past, 3 days.
I do love that they're still worried about Goku. Like they are still worried about him, even though he is a giant monkey.
Yeah, I mean, if someone I knew turned to a giant monkey, I'd probably still care about them. Mostly, why did you turn to a giant monkey?
Does he still have the... We never really see it, but he should theoretically have the stump, right, of a tail?
I guess not, because...
They've never shown the stumps on them. Like, Gohan, we never saw a stump on Gohan, and on, Vegeta, we see, a hole when Vegeta loses the tail. Even on Gohan, we mainly see a hole, and we never see anything on Goten and Trunks. So with Goku, yeah, they never show a hole or a scar or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's fine next episode. I do like how actually this episode how when he wakes up he keeps falling over because he can't balance.
Yeah,
He's
I
not-
really
I
like.
I think
Yeah.
that's a really clever detail that builds quite nicely, but I think it also kind of signals the audience in that this isn't a finished plot point.
Mhm.
That there is something coming from this, so don't think we're done here. Keep this in mind for future episodes.
Yeah, and that's something from the manga too. He like tries to run away and falls over because he's just not used to it. He's just like, wait a minute, I don't, you know, how do I do this? He has to kind of learn how to walk again, or at least how to carry himself again.
I do like the fact he
There's
doesn't
something
notice it's gone until someone says it, though. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
there's something really cute about that whole scenario because it also in my brain kind of gives me like that idea of like, oh, Saiyans need their tails to balance at a certain age. Like that kind of blows my mind. It also puts an image in my head of like Saiyans scruffing babies with their tails. Because even when they grab his tail when he's a giant monkey and it still hurts, it still is enough to make him like stop doing monkeying around.
Yeah. I mean, and that goes, I you have to reach a certain level of strength where it doesn't affect you as much, right? Which they find out the hard way with Nappa, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they try it on him later on. It doesn't
Yeah,
work.
yeah. Piccolo grabs it and he's like, yes. And he gets like immediately like he gets the kind of the classic Toriyama-ism where you get hit so hard that your eyes like bulge out of your head like a Looney Tune. Yeah, no, it's kind of wild that we are 13 episodes in and we're done with the Pilaf saga, something that we've lived with ever since we started this show, and ever since anyone
Yeah.
watching at home started this show.
It doesn't feel like it. It really doesn't feel like we've watched 13 episodes. Like when I've been doing notes, I keep going back, counting them up, like, we could have done 13 already, surely. But yeah, no, we have. It's gone by so I would honestly argue that this is one of the best like single season it's for the Americans of anime that has ever been made. Just for how, as a whole product, how it goes through a whole story so quickly. It's so nice and so solid. If you haven't seen any Dragon Ball, give these 13 episodes a shot. You can get through them in a week, 2 weeks pretty easily. It's really effortless. I really think if you've never tried it, this is just such a nice way to go in. I'm kind of
It's
sad it's ending.
yeah, it's so interesting how these first 13 episodes feel so complete and the pacing like there are little filler things from because the manga couldn't fill up that much time because you need to do that kind of stuff. But it feels so well paced and so quick, but not so quick that you don't get all the details. There's something really artful about the pacing here that I feel like modern anime actually struggles with a lot.
Oh yeah, I think it feels effortless, and I've said that quite a few times, but it's that really well done pacing but it's written in such a way that unless you're sort of sitting there like we are looking for these things, you don't notice it when you're just sitting back and watching. It just feels natural. Like like how characters act in that also feels natural. Like you sort of forget that they're animated after a while because they act in such a normal, understandable way. It's really nice.
The other thing is we don't see Pilaf, I don't think, for the entirety of the tournament saga or Shu or Mai, because there's no reason for them to show up, right? Because the Dragon Balls are inert during all of that. So this is kind of like if you didn't know any better, it's like, yo, are these guys still alive?
Yeah, no, they are Dunzio for quite a while.
Yeah.
And even when they come back, I don't think they come back like properly as a thing for even more time.
I think
Yeah.
they only really start getting a lot of like you only start seeing them a lot again, like really during the Red Ribbon Army stuff.
When Colonel Silver shows up is when
Yeah. Like that's when they really start getting screen time again. And that's a ways off.
it's like 20 episodes away. We're a ways off until we see, for all intents and if you're reading the manga, this is it for Bulma and Yamcha and company for a while. And even if you're just watching the anime, again on Crunchyroll and Hulu, this is the last time you see Pilaf, Shu, and Mai for about 20 episodes.
And that's a surprisingly brave choice. That when you think about it, like
The main
how much of a hard stop this arc is into the next one. Like we only really carry across two characters effectively, Roshi and Goku. And Roshi hasn't really been much of a character up to this point. it's really amazing how it instead very brave to be like, yeah, here's all those 4 characters you followed. They're done. We're not going to see those for a while. We're doing something totally new now.
Wasn't the manga gonna end here at like wasn't like it originally going to end at this point?
Oh, that's the can of worms.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, it did resume the following month. So there was no break in terms of publication. But I mean, it's very much, I think it was very much intended like this is the story you're getting. And if we don't get a readership, Kira Toriyama says as much, I think, in the final strip of Dr. Slump. He's like, hey, Dragon Ball's coming soon. We hope you like it. And if you do, we're going to keep it going. Luckily, people liked it within the Peel Off saga. And it clearly grew into what we now know it to be today. But I think it's a hard ending for a reason, that in case it doesn't find the audience that they were hoping for, they have the satisfying conclusion.
Yeah, from what I've seen though, it did get sort of renewed as much as the manga and Shonen Jump did pretty early on. Like very quickly, it picked up enough for the magazine to be like, yeah, keep going. We want more.
Yeah. Thank you, Shonen Jump. Thank you.
Yeah, because obviously at this point, Blood Rubies would already be in production. So
Oh
yeah.
that's not till December, but that would already be in production. So if it was at the Manga Matsuri, then it's pretty much a good sign that they have quite a bit of faith in it.
That leads me to, we need to talk off camera and see if how we want to punctuate this show movies, because we're getting to the point, we're
getting the first movie, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
which is
God, that's
wild.
right.
Yeah, so yeah, that comes out in December for some foreshadowing. So this episode aired end of May. So in a couple of months, for the winter break, effectively, we'll go into this when we get to it. But yeah, that's that first movie that does kind of act as a promotion.
Yeah, which is why everyone forgets there's 4 Dragon Ball movies.
Oh yeah, I mean, because
Yeah.
the Z ones became actual proper features when these early Dragon Ball movies are less actual proper features and more fun novelties.
I think the only, because a lot of those first 3 Dragon Ball movies just kind of recap very loosely story beats from the manga and anime, with the even the 4th one, Path to Power. But Path to Power gets a full production behind it. You can see that like GT level production.
So actually, yeah. So this is an interesting point, actually, because we're talking about sort of other releases. So there's actually going to be a big gap now between the American episodes. So while the Japanese narrator was right, come back next week, Japanese children, to see more Goku, American kids, you're going to be waiting 5 years.
Yeah, it's got to get that Funimation pickup, basically.
Yep. This was the last Ocean Group dub episode. But between now and then, there were the first Dragon Ball home releases. Funimation teamed up with Ocean Group and Kidmark Entertainment to release a series of tapes in 1996 covering this first arc. And I've got something because they released a promotional video to send to stores to sort of buy our tapes to sell them. I found their pitch video. It's great, but would you like to hear some of how they describe this?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, welcome to the world of Dragon Ball, a world Newsweek calls a kid sensation. The flagship series of Toei, and that's how he says it, animation, the Disney of the Orient. Dragon Ball is the greatest creation of Akira Toriyama, Japan's most famous and popular animation artist.
I mean,
maybe to Americans.
Studio Ghibli's right there.
Well, this is pre-Ghibli at least. This is 96, so
you got some Ghibli. Totoro is already out, I think.
But they do say, yeah, reaching kids 5 and older, the animated series is cleared in over 87% of the US. Dragon Ball Z has been cleared in over 90%. It's the #1 animated show in Japan, France, Spain, and Hong Kong. This is followed by, the US invasion is next. Billions of dollars in Dragon Ball merchandise has already been sold. Toys, t-shirts, lunchboxes, and almost every other conceivable licensed tie-in will be available and in-store soon. I checked, this does include a Yamcha figure.
I'm gonna add that to the collection.
I tried to get one for this episode, but they were $400, and that's too much for a Yamcha.
Oh, sorry, Yamcha.
Sorry, Yamcha, you're too expensive.
A strict 200. Yes, Kidsmark first release will feature 3 videotapes. Curse of the Blood Rubies, the exciting pilot that launched the series. That's wrong. Followed by action-packed episodes such as Secret of the Dragon Ball and the Nimbus Cloud of Roshi. I don't know why that's the 2 episodes they decided to feature, but you do you. And here's a bit that reminded me of the bad old days. Each tape contains 2 episodes.
I remember when
I remember.
Funimation was releasing Z on VHS, you would get 3 and pay like $20 to $25 for that.
So I can tell you there were 6 volumes of the show. The Secret of the Dragon Balls, The Nimbus Cloud of Roshi, Yamcha the Desert Bandit, The Ox King on Fire Mountain, Boss Rabbit's Magic Touch, and The Legend of Goku. All of those, but Volume 6 contain 2 episodes. Volume 6 contains 3.
Well, that's nice.
Then Blood Rubies is separate. But I decided how much that cost. So I looked, and the Anime Archive volume, which was a catalogue that sold anime by mail, had a print advert advertising these tapes. They are $12.99 each. So to get all of them, you have to pay $90.93. Today, that's $25.86 or $181 to get the complete set. If you're young, I want to point this out. This was why anime never caught on, because watching a whole show was expensive.
It was rough.
As a kid, I wanted all of Sailor Moon. To get all of Sailor Moon, to buy all the tapes, it was basically all of Sailor Moon or a medium quality sedan.
Okay, I'm sorry. This unlocked like a sense memory in my brain. There used to be this video store in New York. I don't remember. It was called like Suncoast or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was like the only place other than going to Chinatown where you could find anime features and stuff like that. And it was always like a big like a gift thing when me and my dad would go. Like if I had gotten a good grade on a test or like had won like a sports thing, he would buy me like a Dragon Ball VHS, and that was like the big spend for the week. But yeah, it just unlocked that sense memory. It's like and I would watch those tapes until they fell apart. Like I remember that.
And what's even funnier is these prices stayed pretty much the same. So in 1999, Super Collector Catalog Issue 9, these were another guided mail order. They had each tape for $12.99, apart from Volume 6, the last one, which their special offer was giving it you for $10.
Wow.
Ooh, a bargain. They also sold the box set of all the tapes together for $60, which is $137 in today's money. So yeah, if you wait 4 years, you save about $40.
Wow.
That's worth it. You Crunchyroll kids, you don't know you're born.
Yeah, they don't know the struggle of fan dubs on YouTube.
Just one final thing. In 2001, you could order these tapes directly from Funimation's website, where their special deal was $9.95 each, meaning overall you spend $122. So again, nearly 5 years later, you're only saving like $40. And that's before you factor in Funimation's shipping, which I couldn't find how much they charged.
It wasn't free.
Oh no,
it wasn't free.
This is the point where Funimation, based on what I could find on their website, was literally trying to get rid of these tapes to do Dragon Ball Z on DVD. So even when they're trying to get rid of them, you're not going. It's always about $10. That's all you're getting.
Yeah,
I wonder how much they're going for on eBay now.
They had
too much money.
They had big.
I also checked.
Yeah. But anyway, we're starting to come up on time. Do we have any final thoughts on the Emperor Pilaf saga at large?
It was great. I still say, go watch this show. Go watch this little run. It's so much fun.
I think this is such a good first season for an anime. I think that it gives you everything you need. If you decide you're going to drop off, you're not going to feel like you're missing anything, even though you're missing everything. But it feels so good. Goku's such a great character. I love this arc of Dragon Ball. I think it's great. I can't wait for us to keep going.
Oh yeah. Also, one final thought from me. I do like when Goku gets Oolong's pants. He becomes Peaky Blinders Goku, which is a strong look.
Goku's so round. He's a round boy.
He just needs the hat. That's all.
He's friend shaped.
But yeah, I mean, so this has been another installment of Dragon Ball Rewatch. We're kicking off the tournament saga next week, guys. We're going into some of the last chapter covered in volume 2 of the manga. So we're coming up on it.
And meeting a very special friend.
Oh no.
So yeah, this has been another installment of Dragon Ball Rewatch on CBR. I'm Sam.
I'm John.
I'm Alex. Oh.
We timed that well.
And we'll see you next time on Dragon Ball.